I'm a resident physician working in the hospital full-time for 80 hours a week, and I'm still learning how to code on the side. In this video, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my mindset for learning how to code and how I'm actually going about doing it. I think when you start to code, it's really important to have a goal in mind for why you're doing it in the first place. For me, I'm not really trying to become a developer in 6 months and go work at Google or Facebook. I'm a doctor and I want to practice as a doctor, but I'm also interested in programming and building projects on the side. For me, learning how to code is a long-term skill. I want to have the ability to make side projects that I can grow and scale on my own time, and then hopefully down the line, those can even become a side hustle to supplement my income. But for me, I'm really investing in programming because I think it's a skill that's worth a lot and it compounds over time. So I want to be in it for the long run. Practically, this means making coding a habit in my day-to-day life. And I'm not saying that you have to code every single day. I think it's really hard to, form a completely new habit, especially when you're working full time. When I'm working 80 hours a week in the hospital, the last thing I want to do when I come home is sit down on my computer and program for another 2 hours.
No way, Jose.
But there has to be some kind of metric that you develop so that you can incorporate that new skill into your life. And I think one of the best strategies for doing this is something that Matt D'Avella actually came up with, which is the 2-day rule. This essentially means that you never go 2 days without doing that new habit that you're trying to form. It's okay to miss a day, and it's okay not to do it every single day, but you should never miss more than 2 days in a row. That gives you a little bit of flexibility because you're not feeling as if you have to do something every single day, and that almost becomes discouraging to the point where you actually don't even do the skill and you don't form the habit to begin with. I think the last part about mindset is being honest with yourself and knowing when your periods of busy are. For me, I work 80 hours a week in the hospital, so most weeks are pretty busy. But I also know that there are some times where I'm going to be in outpatient clinic or on an elective rotation where things will be a little bit slower. So I want to take advantage of those time periods and put in maybe more time into learning how to code, because I know that during the busier weeks when I'm in the ICU or when I'm on a tough rotation, I'm not going to have that time to put into coding. I think you have to be honest with yourself and tell yourself, where are the pockets that you can fit in this new skill? And the biggest part about all of this is you have to actually love the process. If you're not liking what you're doing, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons. If you're in it for making a lot of money, or if you're in it to get a job because that pays a lot of money, that's the wrong reason of getting into coding. You really want to get into programming or whatever skill you choose because it's actually the thing that you care about doing and you enjoy the process of doing it. So that's a lot of high level, hand wavy stuff that is important to go over, but let's be real, we want to get into the tactical stuff. How am I actually learning how to code? The first big decision I needed to make was, do I want to do front-end development or back-end development? For me, I wanted to start with front-end development because I enjoy looking at websites, I enjoy creating user interfaces, and I've always been passionate about how users interact with a product. And so front-end really stood out to me. However, I also have a background in data, so the back-end also stands out to me. But to start out with, I know that I had to be a little bit more specific, so I chose front-end. What this basically means is learning the holy grail of coding, which is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And then you can kind of go down the line of learning JavaScript frameworks like React. So because I have a background in data science, I've done a little bit of work with HTML and CSS, so I kind of know the foundations, but I'm actually taking the time to still go through and learn things from the beginning, because I really want to create a solid foundation before diving into JavaScript. The worst thing that you can do is, you start out, you think you know something, but you don't actually know it. And then when you're trying to go down harder paths like JavaScript or even JavaScript frameworks, you don't really know what you're talking about. And so you have to kind of go back and learn, how does Flexbox work in CSS? So for me, I'm starting out with HTML and CSS and then moving on to JavaScript. Now there are a lot of ways to do this, and it really depends on the type of learner that you are. I kind of go back and forth between learning from videos and learning from written content. Currently, I'm using the Odin Project, which is a free resource online. It's very similar to Free Code Camp, and it really walks you through the fundamentals of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and then you can even go deeper in their specific JavaScript path. I really like this because I can kind of go at my own pace and follow the resources however I want. If I want to go particularly deep in a topic, I can read the additional resources that the Odin Project provides. But if I already know something or think that I have a good understanding, I don't have to spend all day watching a video or going through a specific chapter of a course. I can just kind of move on to the next thing. For me, this has really worked well, but of course there are pros and cons to learning from text versus video, and you need to determine for yourself what kind of learner you are and go down the pathway that will help you the most. If you want to learn more about the Odin Project, you can click on this video that I'm linking above, and that'll give you a little bit more of an understanding of what to expect if you're trying to use that resource. After I finish the Odin Project, the next step is really to switch to project-based learning. And this is a really hard step for beginners. It's really nice to go through a tutorial and have your hand held and someone to tell you what to code on every line to make a project. It's really great, and I think it's totally fine if you want to follow a few YouTube videos to make a blog or a recipe website or whatever. But after you do that, it's really important to switch into project-based learning. And the reason for that is because when you're starting your own project and have a blank file in front of you, you really have to learn and figure out what to do. And that's where you find the holes in your knowledge. And it's only through finding these holes and building upon them that you can truly learn a skill and become a better developer, in my opinion. So what I've done is created a document for myself where I've defined 3 to 5 projects that I want to complete after going through the Odin project. And they vary in level of difficulty. So it's something as simple as making my own blog and my own website to all the way of making, a to-do list to maybe making a calendar app. And I think the reason I want to do those things is because each step of the way is going to push me further and make me a better developer. And so I'm creating this channel to basically document that whole process. And so if that's something that you're interested in, I want to give you a front row seat into what it's like learning how to code while working full-time as a doctor. So if you enjoy that, definitely check out this additional video that I've created with more resources on the topic and subscribe to the channel. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.